A deeper understanding of what needs to happen in Limpopo to rebuild from the flooding there. Professor Mohamed Mostafa is the head of civil engineering at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. Professor, good afternoon to you. I really do appreciate the time. We've seen so much flooding recently, and in the end, people need to rebuild structures and rebuild roads. Are there ways to rebuild this infrastructure so it won't be damaged by flooding in the future?
Good afternoon to you and to the viewers. Yes, definitely. We have first to understand why we have seen a lot of floods recently. Basically, this is attributed to climate change effects. Over the last 5 years, we have been hit by a lot of increase in the temperature when it comes to the South African region. And this increase in temperature, and I'm talking about the global increase, led to the possibility of heavy rain incidents to be higher than what we used to design for 30, 40, 50 years ago. So now we are more susceptible to floods because of the extensive heavy rain happening, and the frequency of this intensive rain is happening more frequent. So we are not able to avoid the damage unless we can implement a very good maintenance maintenance strategy. But while we are doing that, we can't avoid having some damage. So to rebuild, we have two options. To rebuild as it was before, and this is the quick option, and unfortunately, the reoccurrence of the damage is highly possible. Or to rebuild resilient infrastructure, which can sustain the expected heavy rain and the frequent flood events in the next few years. And this will cost more money. Usually it costs between 20 to 30% additional investment in the capital budget. But it will help us to maintain our infrastructure at good level. At the same time, it will minimize the loss of lives. And this is very important because one life doesn't equal to any number of investments.
Okay, so for another, let's just say 30% extra, we would be able to have a situation where we wouldn't see the kind of destruction we have now. If we were to do this quickly and cheaply, well, then it'll cost 100% because you'll have to rebuild it. So a 30% increase is the obvious option.
Yeah, that's the obvious option, that we don't rebuild, or let's rather say we don't restore the original condition. We build a new infrastructure for resilient climate change. So basically, the new infrastructure should be built, one, to be able to hold more expected lifespan, and two, to be able to resist the damage due to this intensive flood. But this will require looking into what we put into our new infrastructure. So there are so many materials which we can use to rebuild the infrastructure, and these materials are more resilient and more sustainable. But as I said, it's more expensive. So yes, possible, but we need additional budget for rebuilding. And at the same time, we don't need to forget, we mustn't forget the importance of maintaining the current infrastructure. So we don't wait until disaster happens and then we lose 31 persons, for example. But we invest heavily in maintenance parallel to rebuilding resilient infrastructure. These two are very important to go hand in hand.
Professor, what happens in our country, as you know, is that people will move to an area, they'll be looking for a job, they'll find a job, they'll earn a little bit of money, they'll take what they earn with that money and start to build themselves a house. And this is what happens around the country, and there are lots of reasons for that, and if I were in that position, it's exactly what I would do. Are there ways to help those people get the right materials to build their houses themselves in a way that will withstand the kind of flooding that we've seen?
Unfortunately, informal settlements and houses built by non-professionals will not be able to resist such events. So we need proper town planning. We need people to build in areas where they are less susceptible to such events. So the municipalities do have a responsibility to communicate with communities and allocate certain areas where people can build and indicate certain areas as high risk where people shouldn't build. And they need to intervene immediately and put measures in place to have proper drainage systems in the areas where people are allowed to build themselves, because it's impossible that they can afford to build using specific materials and they will not have professionals to design for them. Usually it's something which is in-house made. So the municipalities will have the responsibility to create more safer environment in these specific locations. However, the risk will still be there, but we can work towards minimizing the risk rather than eliminating. To eliminate the risk, we need the municipalities to have 100% well-designed town plans and people to stick to these town plans. And all buildings must be done through professional engineers and professional contractors and according to the right specifications, which is something very difficult to achieve in rural areas.
What tends to happen now in cities and in rural areas, Professor, and you will know more about this than I do, is that when someone's building a structure, it gets checked, there are inspections, you get someone to sign off on it. But no one ever goes and inspects old houses. The house that I live in is probably 40 years old, more. I don't think anyone's ever been to check on it. Do we need to actually check the structures that have been built a long time ago to make sure that they're safe?
Safety of structures is not something which we can afford not to do. We have to check the safety of the infrastructures all the time. This should be ongoing exercise. This is part of the maintenance strategy I'm talking about. So maintenance strategy doesn't mean that we just go and clean the drainage systems, but to check the health of the bridges, to check the health of the roads, to check the health of the buildings. And there are so many advanced technologies now which we can use. So basically, in simple words, we can implant sensors in all our infrastructure and simply create a control room in the municipality. And this control room is monitoring what's happening in those infrastructure on daily basis. And they get like an early warning system to highlight where are the red spots. And then the municipality can also plan their budgets in terms of maintenance according to that. It's not rocket science. It's very simple to be achieved, but it needs skilled people. And also at the same time, it needs collaboration between municipalities and researchers in academia and other research institutions to upskill the staff who can work in such control rooms.
Professor, thank you so much. Professor Mohamed Mostafa is the head of civil engineering at the University of KwaZulu-Natal.